Aloha, friends and family, and welcome to EarthStar Shamans or EarthStar Sundays at 11:11. Beautiful day today being Easter, so happy Easter, happy celebration from one of the high points for our Christian faith today, with the resurrection of Jesus, the Christ body, providing that opportunity and the essence for eternal life through our Christian beliefs. So I hope you have a wonderful day with family and friends. And thank you for spending your time and joining us here today. So today is April 5th, 2026. And we want to talk today about our dimensional transitions that we make. And Easter being one of those important times that highlights the second type of transition we can make, that being with the Christ energy. Okay. All right, well, let's get started. And let me pull you back to the first slide. Here we are, Sundays, 11:11. Our main themes, of course, are about cosmic shaman and aloha consciousness. And today will be the dimensional transitions. And we are EarthStar Spiritual Center. So we are a multi-faith church. We're living aloha. Been doing this since 2002. And our core beliefs or ideals are off to the left there. All loving God, they spell aloha. And then love, oneness, heart, and as above, so below. And we are about planetary awareness to galactic consciousness. And again, helping us to be in a dimensional space when we do this. Okay? And these are some of the topics that we will discuss at our Sundays at 11:11. And should we be able to help you with any of these things during the week, just let us know. We can do private sessions with you, and that can either be in person or a video or by phone. Okay. And also, if you have any topics you'd like to explore on our Sundays at 11:11, please let us know. And these are some of the books we have available. So if you want to read about shamanism, you can find these books. I've got the links in the show notes. And also they are available on Amazon. So this is part of our book ministry. And then we have a new music ministry that we started in March. And so far we have 4 pieces of music that we've produced. I did write the lyrics for all the songs, and I'm using a Songer AI to help with the vocals and the instrumentation. So you can find those. I'll put those in the show notes a little bit later. And they're also available on YouTube on our EarthStar Spiritual Center channel. And also they're available on your favorite streaming platforms. And that way you can help support us. And that way that's also part of our ministries here at EarthStar. And then to remind you also of a group that we belong to or belong with, and that's Connecting Consciousness with Simon Parks. Simon Parks' group, Connecting Consciousness. He lives in England. But there will be one of the groups that will help manage the funding for humanitarian projects as we find ourselves moving into this beautiful golden age. Remember, we want to move from surviving to thriving. And so I would urge you to join Connecting Consciousness. It is free. It has always been free, and it'll continue to be free to join. We have over 100,000 members in over 100 countries. So quite an organization. So what you want to determine then is how do you currently serve humanity? How do you serve others? And how will you serve? And are your skills, your abilities, are they ready to go right now? Like the Minuteman soldiers in the Revolutionary War, are you ready to go at a moment's notice to begin, start, or enhance your service to others? So again, what are your earth superpowers? What are your abilities, your gifts, your goals, your powers, skills, and talents? And are we using these skills and gifts in our service to others? And we'll probably, we will have a class, physical class with the Earth Superpowers in May. I'm thinking it'll be the Saturday after Mother's Day for right now. All right, so today's topic then is Easter at our Sundays at 11:11, Easter and dimensional transitions. Remember, when we think about dimensional transitions, keep in mind and heart that we are very dimensional. Just think about us being mind, body, and spirit. So there we have 3 dimensions of how we can interact with our reality, right? We interact in a mental way by the way we think, our thoughts, our intellect, our psyche, our psychological, emotional inputs. Body-wise, obviously, we use our body in 3D to interact with our reality. And then spirit-wise, we act with our reality in helping us to create, being in contact with our higher self, our guides, our angels, being in contact with the Christ or other ascended masters and beings. Okay? So we are very dimensional in that sense. And also, when we think about it, we have, let's say, as a minimum, 10 trillion cells in our human body. To just think every one of those 10 trillion cells has a consciousness of aloha about it. So there you could say we have at least 10 trillion levels of dimensional awareness that is with us every single day. So we are dimensional people. Okay? We always have been, we are now, and we will be forever, because that's the way the universe and the multiverse is set up. Okay? So today, then, our objectives, we will discuss 3-dimensional transitions of mind, body, and spirit. And yes, one of those will be death. Okay? And so when we speak about transitions, our passing, our crossing over, or merely ascending to a new reality. So that's what we want to explore today, especially on Easter, since Easter is all about the resurrection of the Christed body. And we want to certainly bring that pattern in with our thoughts. Okay? All right, so just as a quick overview then, the first dimensional transition would be physical or mental death. The second one will be resurrection. So that's what Easter is all about. And the third one will be the Merkaba. And that's where the mind, body, spirit stays intact. Okay? So we're going to examine these each individually. So let's go to the next position. And so the first thing there is going to be our physical and mental death. So this is when we commonly refer to as just dying. We passed away. Right? We have our funeral and all those things. So when we talk about our physical and mental death, then we want to think about being in 3D. And with 3D, that's when we are veiled. Right? When we pass from this life here on Earth, and we reincarnate, as you see the second item there, when we come back, we totally forget everything. Our memory is veiled. So it's almost like we have to learn at a new point, learn in a new way, and learn all the things all over again. However, many of us and many friends that I know, you recognize people, places, and things. You realize your previous lifetime skills. And that's why you have these skills this time. Just think an artist that had a past life as an artist. Just think when you came back this time, you still have that skill. You still have that passion. The same thing as far as recognizing people, recognizing places. When we move to different locations or we work in different places, these are because we have a kinship with these spots all over planet Earth. And then certainly with things, we may have we had a favorite car, or we have a favorite, it could be anything from clothing to things around the home. It could be pets. So favorite kind of animals you have. But just think about the people, all the people you have. We often speak of this as being our soul group. So just think the people that you recognize, maybe people you don't even know intimately or personally, but you just see them on the street and right away there's this spark, this kinship that I know that person. So just think we have this cognizance. It's just a matter of bringing that to a conscious level so that we can integrate that and merge it into our current lifetime. So the 3D then, 3D is we die physically and we die mentally. So that's why when we come back, we just can't remember anything unless we access our intuition and we start to remember these things on a conscious level. So reincarnation, I know in our Christian teachings, that's really not touched upon, but we find that there are many other belief systems on the planet that speak about reincarnation. And when you think about it, just think, do we just think we only have one lifetime? And, so with our Christian perspective, so we die. If we did our good stuff, then we go to heaven. But now we've often thought of ourselves as being heaven, like in physical form. We're not floating around like Casper the Ghost. When we think about being in heaven, we think about being there in a physical form, walking those streets of gold, walking through those pearly gates. So is that not, in a sense, reincarnation, even from a Christian perspective? So when we reincarnate, just think about, we have all of eternity to go through all these many lifetimes, because remember, as we've talked about before in previous shows, our purpose for all of eternity is love, is to be love, to see, hear, and feel love, to sense, feel, and know love, and then to be love and learn about love in every nanosecond of our existence, because that's who God is. God, Goddess is love. So that's who we are. Since we are made of God, we are love. So reincarnation, then going through many, many lifetimes, an infinite amount of lifetimes. And then all these lifetimes are about living love. Okay. Now in 3D, when we think about our reincarnation and the times that we have physical and mental deaths, when we study the law of Ra, or the law of one, the book of Ra, with those teachings that came out in the 1980s, and they're still in existence also here at the law of one is still in Louisville, Kentucky. Okay, so our 3D cycle then is a self-awareness cycle. For instance, 1D is the elements, so that's awareness. 2D, that would be plants and animals, so that's really about growth and light. And 3D, it's about self-awareness. Now, 4D is about love, and then 5D is about wisdom, and then 6D is about unity. Okay, so we have all these dimensions, densities that we can live in. Densities referring to light, the amount of light. When we think about that, we know that God is the greatest density. So here we are at 3D. So we're quite a ways as far as that density of light with that. But our 3D cycles, then, they're 75,000 years long. So at the end of the 75,000 year cycles, that's when we have opportunities to ascend to the next density or dimension. In other words, we've grown. And so in our case, this would be 4D, okay, to the density of love. So 75,000 years, and from what we can gather, we're coming to the end of this 75,000 year cycle. And not only are we about to make this transition to 4D, but also Mother Earth is making the transition also. So it's an exciting time to be here and to know that we created this wonderful time to be together to experience this. Okay, so the first way of making dimensional transitions then is physical and mental death, right? We totally forget everything. That's why we have the veil. That's why we have the memory loss when we come through. Unless consciously we can recall them. Okay? So that's the 3D. So that's the first one. All right, number 2. Now, in this one, this is where we come to resurrection. So we come to the Jesus pattern. Okay, so Jesus gave us this pattern to help us to find another way and to have another way to make transition to the next lifetime. Okay? So Easter, Easter, that's a European word, oyster. It's really, I think it's spelled E-O-S-T-R-E. I believe that comes from a Germanic type word. And that was really in reference to the goddess of spring. And Easter, our Christian Easter, is based on a lunar calendar. Easter, that's why it changes every Sunday, every year, usually in March and various times in April, because we celebrate it after the spring equinox. It's after the first full moon after spring equinox. So the Sunday following that is when we celebrate Easter. So that's why we have it at different times. So just like Chinese New Year is based on the lunar calendar also, it's the second new moon after winter solstice. So it's nice to know that we have this connection to Grandmother Moon. And a lot of people think it's a very pagan or very heathenistic to think it this way, to think about the moon. But here it is right in the middle of our Easter traditions. And matter of fact, it's at the highlight of our Easter tradition, and that being the resurrection, right? Our place, our way to make it to heaven. Okay? So 3D physical death and resurrection, we do die, because remember, Jesus did physically die, right? He was put up on a cross, and he died on that cross on Good Friday. And in 3 days, he did rise. Now, when Jesus came back, that's where we have the new etheric body, right? And he retained all his memories. So this was a new pattern for us. Remembering the physical death, the 3D death, not only did we die, but also our mental capacity died. We forgot everything. So when we reincarnated, we had to learn everything again. But in this way, in the resurrection pattern that Jesus provided, we retain our memories. So we know who the people were around us, and we remember all of our experiences. Now, how do we know that Jesus retained his memories? Well, remember that when he was there near the tomb, when Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary, and I hope you know that Mary Magdalene was his wife, and some of the esoteric teachings that I've been exposed to and studied, and so when you think about if you go and listen to the Light of Magdala, the song I just posted on YouTube, that will give you a little bit of background, and read the comments in the video description. I've got a little more background on that, and I will put that on the website soon. So when we think about Jesus and him recognizing Mary and Mother Mary, because remember he said, "Who are you looking for?" Because he is not here. But Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene, his wife, could not even recognize him because he had a new etheric body. So, it makes you wonder, what kind of body was that? Was it a glowing body, or did he not favor the physical Jesus at all? But evidently there was no resemblance. Or maybe they were just taken aback because when they looked in the tomb and the body was gone, maybe they were just in a state. And then this person comes up, I imagine, wearing a white robe and says, "The person you're looking for is not here." Now, think about when he went to the disciples. When he showed up for the disciples, well, that's where we get the story about, doubting Thomas. Because remember, he met with the disciples in a locked room. Let me read my notes here with this one. So he met the disciples in a room in Jerusalem. And that's where we get the term doubting Thomas, because Thomas wanted to see the nail marks in his palm and his wrist. So Jesus showed him that. So even though he had an etheric body, evidently he still had those marks from the crucifixion with the nails going through his hands and wrists, right? But doubting Thomas, that's where we get that word from that. Okay? Now, another time that Jesus met with people after the crucifixion, he met with 2 disciples on the road. And then he also told the disciples to go to Galilee. And of course, in Galilee, that's where he gave the disciples, the 11 disciples that we know of. Because remember, Judas had already hung himself. So we find that that's where Jesus gave the disciples the Great Commission. Remember, the Great Commission was to go out and preach the gospel and share the love of the Christ energy. And then the last time he showed up with the disciples was on the shore of the Sea of Galilee. And there they had a meal. I think it says probably a breakfast together. And then that was the last time he was with them, because he ascended from the Mount of Olives. And that was about 40 days later after the resurrection. So we know that Jesus was here, and evidently people got used to his etheric body, but just at first, they really didn't quite know that was him. Okay. So when we think about how Mary and Mary Magdalene didn't even know him, and the disciples doubted seeing him, and we think about this body thing, about having this body during the resurrection. Well, when we think about the Egyptian philosophies, that's why the Egyptians were so intent on making mummified bodies, because it was through their understanding that you had to have a body in order to make it to the next transition, or when the transition came, when 4D happened and materialized as we move from 3D to 4D, that next density, their body, they had to have a body to be here. So that's why they mummified it. So the bodies would be ready to move into the next density. And, and I understand that that's how they perceived their world at the time. It's just when you really think about that, our God is so great. And to think that God has created us with 10 trillion cells in our body, and to think that each one of our cells has 6 feet of DNA, that means we have about 10 billion miles of DNA within this physical body. And I would like to think that if someone is so great to create such a magnificent machine as our human body, I believe that if it's time to have a physical body going into the next density, I believe our great creator can manage all those atoms and rearrange those atoms so we do have a body as we make that transition. So that's where I differ with that, because I have a varying perspective as far as my beliefs with Christianity, as I approach it from a cosmic and shamanic sense, understanding of the cosmic Christ and his role here. And of course, what a role he had, because it's 2,000 years later and we're still talking about Christ, and we still have churches who believe in that. So a wonderful ministry that he and Mary of Magdalene had as they went around and provided the sense. And remember, when we think about the disciples too, or the apostles, even though there's only 12 apostles, official apostles, the definition of an apostle was someone who witnessed the crucifixion and also witnessed the resurrection. And of course, the 12 or the 11 apostles did, because Jesus appeared to them in that room in Jerusalem. Remember the doubting Thomas thing, and also appeared to Mary Magdalene and also Mother Mary. So when we think about the apostles, Mary Magdalene, being his wife, she's not really considered an apostle, but she witnessed the crucifixion. She witnessed the resurrection, as Mother Mary did. But for some reason, they don't have a place or a title as an apostle in our scriptures. So make sure you understand that. And also perhaps the church's role to not allow women to have some sort of power in the church. After all, we have many beliefs, many Christian denominations who still are reluctant on ordaining women priests. So it's nice to know that now that we're more of an enlightened state, and we understand the power of the feminine energy and how it is so strong in our society, and how really, when we think about it, the feminine energy is the soul of our realities here as humans. And to think about that, Mary Magdalene, also, she's the one that financed Jesus's ministry. When they went around and they were having to buy food, places to stay, somebody had to pay for that. Imagine if you did that today, it'd be the same thing. So somebody has to pay the light bill, so to speak. And Mary Magdalene came from a family that was able to do that. And remember, too, if you don't remember the teachings, Joseph of Arimathea, he is the uncle of Mary Magdalene. She's Mary of Magdala. Magdala is the town near the Sea of Galilee. So Magdalene is how that's kind of translated over in English. And so Joseph of Arimathea, who Mary of Magdala's uncle, he had to petition Pontius Pilate, right, the Roman governor, to take down Jesus' body and to place him in a tomb for their burial rites. And remember, this was his tomb. In those days, just like now, you didn't go on Google and go, I need a timeshare, I need to rent a tomb for 3 days, right? You don't go to Tombs R Us and just find a tomb. These things have to be carved out of a mountainside. So Joseph of Arimathea was wealthy enough that he had his own tomb in his own private gardens. So he made this tomb available for Jesus' interment. And again, he only needed it for 3 days. So go back and research the scriptures, go back and do some Google research on that. But most importantly, I would say is go within. Ask Jesus, ask Mary of Magdalene yourself, right? Because remember, we're all in wholeness. So go right to the source of this information to find out what works with you. And remember that if we think about Jesus, the Christ, if we can imagine that Christ has a restaurant, well, everybody that goes to Christ's restaurant, they're not going to eat the same things, right? Some people eat a salad. Some have a steak, potato, chili fries. Some just go in and maybe they'll just have a drink. They'll have a beer. They'll have water, tea. They'll have a daiquiri, or maybe they'll just have an old fashioned, right? Or maybe they just want to go sit and listen to the music. So of course, different people go to Christ's restaurant for their own reasons. That doesn't mean they like everything on the menu, but yet we're all part of the Christ restaurant. So think of that in the same sense when we have these different beliefs and denominations about Christ, about Jesus. Remember, there are well over 100 denominations in Christianity. So why is it we have so many denominations? Because the main reason for that is our rituals and our sacraments that we do, especially communion, the Lord's Supper, right? Matter of fact, we can't even say the same word. We call it communion or Lord's Supper, right? And also some other things. So think about the cosmic sense, the greater sense of what Christianity is, and it's about Jesus' ministry of love. Okay? So, and remember, he provided the pattern for resurrection. Okay, wonderful. It's a wonderful lesson on that. Okay, now let's come up with our third dimensional shift. Now, remember, in 3D, we have physical and mental death. We forget everything. And then the second sense, we have resurrection, which is the Christ pattern. Okay? And Christ provided this pattern that we not only, we did have physical death, but the mental retention is still there. Okay? Now, with the Merkaba, there is no physical death. Mind, body, and spirit stays intact. Okay? And then we make our transition to 4D with our Merkaba. Now, everyone has a Merkaba, and Merkaba is a star tetrahedron, or think of it as a 3D Star of David. It has 8 points around it. And the Merkaba, to reactivate it, requires that it be reactivated from your own heart. Now, I said everyone has a Merkaba, and we had one when we had our lives in Atlantis. But when Atlantis went down, and we had that pole shift, and remember, that's probably what's referred to in the Old Testament with the Great Flood. That was when we had that pole shift and the electromagnetic shifts, geomagnetic shifts on the earth plane. And that's when we lost our Merkaba. It became deflated, so to speak. And so we can inflate it or recharge it or jump it, just like we would jump a car battery or recharge a cell phone battery. Right? We can do that. We just have to do that from the heart. Now, we do teach Merkaba classes here, but there's many people online. Also, if you can go to Drumlow Melchizedek, look up some of his teachings and his teachers, they also teach it. Or perhaps you're one of those persons that you can contact the wholeness that's all around us and your higher self, and you can find a way to activate your own Merkaba. We usually try to do a couple of Merkaba classes physically here, also a year. We haven't scheduled it yet for right now. So the Merkaba then, when Mother Earth makes her transition to 4D, remember that anything in 3D cannot survive here on Mother Earth. It'll be a different form of energy. You just can't be here. Okay. So everything on 3D will make a physical transition some way, somehow, unless you have a Merkaba. Okay? Now, your Merkaba, remember, there's no physical death. There's no mental death. You simply just appear into 4D and you begin to live your life in a new density. And 4D is the density of love. And remember when I said earlier that the 3D cycle was 75,000 years. Well, the 4D cycle is 30 million years. Okay, so make sure we understand that too. So it's a long cycle to learn many things. However, the good thing about our transition to 4D from our lessons from other teachers, we apparently will only be in 4D for about 2 years. And then our reward, since humanity has been messed with so much by other beings, we will be granted access to 5D. So in other words, we're going to skip that 30 million year period, and we'll be able to make that transition to 5D, to the density of wisdom and light. Now, when we go to 4D, the thing about 4D, we create instantly in 4D. And if you're there, if you're not mature enough in your mental and love capacities, your heart capacities, you're going to begin to create fear. And the thing about 4D is these things become instant. And if you create fear in 4D, you will die physically. And if you do that, then you're going to revert back to a 3D existence in some other place. It won't be planet Earth. It'll be some other place. Remember, this is a big universe. And plus, we have the multiverse, so you will be somewhere else. Remember, if we imagine life, our cosmos, our wholeness being like a diamond, we just simply move from facet to facet throughout all of eternity. And many of us move together. That's why we're called a soul group. So we stay on a facet of that diamond. We may stay there a million years, keep learning from each other, and then we move on. Okay? So the third way then of making transition is the Merkaba. So if this finds and it piques your interest, find a way to create this Merkaba, reactivate it within you so that you will have access to this third way of making transition. Okay? Now, there are probably other ways to make transitions because remember, we can't limit transitions to just three ways. We live in an infinite wholeness. But these are the only three ways that I'm aware of. Okay, so physical death, and 3D, and mental death, and then 4D with physical death, but we retain our memories, and then with the Merkaba, everything is there. We just move into that new existence. Okay, all right, excellent and outstanding. Okay, and remember we are live chat, so if you have any comments, just check in and just let me know. Okay, good. All right, now let's do our review. So the first way of having a dimensional transition then is the physical and mental death way. And that's where when we come back or reincarnate, we have a veil and we just simply forget everything. Unless we're one of those people that can bring this back to the conscious level and remember some of the skills we had, remember some of the people we had, and remember some of the personal aspects of our past life. Okay? The second way is resurrection. Remember, this is the Jesus pattern. So this is one of the wonderful things that Jesus provided for us. Not only did he leave us with a wonderful ministry of love and healing and transition, and it was this transition through the resurrection way. And that is a physical death. However, your mind, the mental aspect retains all the memories. You know who the people are, and you have a different type of etheric body. So people may not recognize you. Remember, like Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary didn't recognize him right away. Okay. And then the third way is the Merkaba. And that's when our mind, body, and spirit stays intact. And we make this wonderful transition to 4D. Okay. All right. Wonderful that. Great job. Okay. Now let's use all that wonderful energy and let's move ourselves into a nice meditative posture. And you may want to meditate on all these wonderful things today. You may want to think about the healing, the calm. You want to make sure you understand who you are, your place in your reality. So think about the transitions today. Think about meditating with that. So let's get ourselves prepared as we do that. Okay? Here's some music to help. So empty yourself of everything. Let your mind rest at peace. Turning to the source is stillness, which is the way of nature. A.L.O.H.A, Book 16. Now just think about your body as you either sitting or lying down. Feel your essence, your presence. Feel the Christ essence and presence around you. However, you can envision Christ, that beautiful white light of the Christ. And now think about your chakras, the red, the orange, the yellow, the green, light blue, deep blue, violet, or purple. Imagine those chakras all aligned from the root to the crown. And now imagine a beautiful tube connecting all of your chakras, like a fluorescent tube. That fluorescent tube is white. So just imagine that fluorescent tube now beginning to fill up with all that beautiful rainbow of colors from your chakras. And then soon this little rainbow tube, it begins to exude these beautiful colors into your chakra field, to your Aloha bubble, until you create this beautiful bubble around you. Beautiful bubble of Aloha. Feel it surrounding your body. Now just begin to breathe. Recognize that sense. Recognize the Christ sense within your Aloha bubble. And feel this light flowing through every cell, every strand of DNA, each and every atom and subatomic particle in your mind, body, and spirit. And now let's find ourselves moving to our healing, prayer, meditation time. Focus on that Christ light in the very center of your chest and allow that Christ light to flow to every part of your body. That helps you with your healing, your prayer, or your meditation wholeness. Now, if you will, just bring yourself back to your conscious self. Be fully aware of your physical body, your mind, your spirit. Allow yourself to focus on your breathing. Feel the energy all around you. Feel the peace and the love. Now let's continue to be in this space. Now let's use the Merkaba and allow that beautiful Christ light to come through the Merkaba. You see the little flashings of the light. And we offer this prayer that may you be filled with the Aloha consciousness, mind, body, and spirit, thought, word, and deed, with everyone, everything, everywhere, every time, place, and space. And in every endeavor, at home, work, and play, as you allow this wonderful energy to flow through your mind, body, and spirit today, for the remainder of this week, in your healing time, prayer time, your meditation time, and in your interactions with people, places, and things, allowing you to be the love in every moment, to be the aloha in every moment. And we ask this in the name of the eternal love and the spirit and the aloha that flows through all things. We thank this wonderful Christ energy providing us with this resurrection pattern and providing us with this beautiful Christ light that we're able to use in our healing times, either through our hands, what we see, what we say, how we feel. Now, if you will, just kind of gather that energy, that Christ light. Just gather it, bring it right here in your hands. Feel that energy of the Christ light. You see the picture behind me. Beautiful white, golden white light. Now just place that light right on the chest, right on the heart. Allow your body to be infused with this wonderful energy. And so that for today and the remainder of the week, or as long as you like it, just be reminded of that beautiful Christ light within you, with every breath, every beat of the heart. And know that you're being healed, and you are healed. And that way you can be the best you, the best version of you. And that is the loving you, being the love in every moment. Ata Molku, Vigbara, Vigula, Lilam, Amen. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, ever and ever. Amen. Amen. Thank you. Wonderful job today. Thank you for sharing your healing energy. I feel it coming through the TV, the computer screen. So let me just share one more slide or two more slides with you. Remember our SHAC principles. In order for us to be the best version of who we can be and who we are, remember to give as many smiles as you can this week, as many hugs, and also receiving hugs, right? Want to make sure that you're being hugged every day. If you're not being hugged every day, then find out why. We all want to be hugged. Okay? So hug someone and be hugged, okay, every day this week. Sharing acts of kindness. So you're sharing with others and you're allowing others to share their acts with you. So same thing with the smiles and hugs. Okay? And then compliments. Make sure you're complimenting other people and make sure it's a full compliment. It's a full compliment from the heart. It's not one of those little jab compliments, okay? A full loving compliment. And make sure when you look in the mirror, you compliment yourself. And then kisses. Now, it may be hard to kiss yourself unless you kiss your hand or something, but I want to make sure that you kiss someone this week and have someone kiss you. It could just be a peck on the cheek, okay? So make sure we're involved with our SHAC principles, our smiles, or hugs, or acts of kindness, compliments, and kisses. Wonderful way to live the week, to live life, right? To live all of eternity this way. And then, of course, our POW, okay? On 3. POW, remember in Hawaiian, it remembers that's it. It's over. Ready on three. 1, 2, 3. Pow. Wonderful job. Thanks for being here today on this beautiful Easter day. Really the highlight of our Christian faith, with Jesus providing the pattern of resurrection. So remember, be the best version of you. Have a wonderful week. And we will see you next week. If we don't see you with the other things we're doing on the show. So, and remember, this show is available for replay. So make sure you like it, share it, and help our channel to grow. And subscribe to YouTube if you're not already. That way you'll be alerted whenever if we have something bright to say or something bright to offer, then it'll show up. Okay. All right. We love you, Jeanne and I both. You take care. Much aloha, and be the best you. Okay? Aloha in every moment. Here we go.